Hey guys, Michael here from Prospectology. I just want to quickly walk you through how we use clay.com to enhance our cold calling campaigns for ourselves, for our agency at Prospectology, and also for our clients. Now, I've been testing this for the last month or two, and we've really seen some really good results. Typically, you see clay.com used to augment manual research. We see it to hyper-personalize observations, or find or pulling different data sources and manipulate that to get the end result, or to tier leads based on revenue or how much they fit your ICP. So we can do a lot inside of clay.com. And typically the biggest use case, in my opinion, would be to automate inbound, outbound, cold email campaigns, and also LinkedIn outreach as well. So Clay essentially connects with 150 different sales tools. It's essentially like a brain behind your go-to-market, but at the same time, it's not the holy grail and is not going to save you if you do not use it correctly. So typically, high level view, we use clay.com. I would say the best use case would be to enhance our copy, email copy, by layering different triggers or signals that's bespoke to the individual or the key stakeholder to speak about this in our messaging. So before we get into anything, when I worked in bootstrap startups over the last few years, and we used to do cold calling campaigns using a power dialer with the likes of Aircall or 8x8. Typically, we'd have a list on the screen. We would then do the cold calling, and it would be, it would be a very tough game. It kind of depends on if the individual is open to listening to what you got to say. We would use different techniques, permission-based openers. For objection handling, we use feel, felt, found. We still use that to today. But what we can actually do now is, instead of spending minutes, if not hours, doing research on these key stakeholders or companies before we do the cold calling campaigns, we can actually speed that up in a more efficient way using clay.com. Now, before we start any cold calling campaign, I'm going to show you this workflow. I'm going to use two examples, and I'm going to push it into a power dialer of the one that I've been testing myself recently, and I'm going to show you how this works. So stick around, and I'm going to kind of walk you through it. So first and foremost, before we start any sort of enrichment or any sort of work inside of clay.com, we really need to think about what's going to be the relevant signal or the relevant observation we want to speak about when we're doing the cold calling. So typically with the cold calling, like I said before, we jump on a call, we may do some manual research, or we may just go straight in for it, do a pitch, 30-second pitch, whatever it is, and then see if that landed well. Now, that doesn't work or resonate as much as it used to many years ago, because nowadays, cold calling, the skill is getting better, and a lot of your key stakeholders or your C-suite individuals are probably being bombarded left, right, and center with these generic pitches. Now, we're going to use clay.com. We're going to enrich the variable or the observation, and we're going to push that inside of the power dialer. In this case, it's going to be sales dialer made by JustCall. We're going to upload it via CSV file. We're going to have that information at hand, and we're just going to dial and smile. So first and foremost, like I said, relevant signal. I'm going to touch on probably the tech stack one using BuiltWith. Hiring is a really good signal as well, especially from an agency point of view. There's recent funding, follower competitor LinkedIn pages as well. So all these different things we can actually find and grab inside of clay.com, using it to enrich it. So the enrichment itself, we're going to use Clay to enrich the different data points. So if I was going to do a tech stack grab and find out who the payment processor is for that e-commerce company, for example, I'm going to use BuiltWith. If it's to find if companies are hiring for a specific role, let's say they're a Series A, Series B, they've done a Series A, B funding, and they're now looking to hire their first SDRs or their first AEs. That is a signal for myself to say, listen, they want to now expand their sales team, have more headcount, and now look to build the top of the funnel as well as their pipeline and hit some really good revenue growth. Now, if I'm an outbound agency, I can use that as a signal and say, listen, we can do this job for you. We've got better results using our social proof for the third of a price of an SDR. So it's just a high level kind of example there using that relevant signal. Or if we use a tech stack example, this is my favorite example because I'm in the fintech world. We can actually enrich a bunch or do some lead generation with a list building for a bunch of e-commerce brands. Instead of me having to manually go into their checkout page, pretend to buy something, and then see what their payment options are, we can now use different data sources like BuiltWith, Wappalizer, for example, inside of clay.com to find that information and then go ahead and actually start to speak about it and obviously compare. That kind of works really well for cold email, and it works really nicely for cold calling as well. So in a second, I'm going to show you high level view of what we do, but to kind of go over it one more time, first we find the relevant signal. We then do the data enrichment inside of clay.com, which I'm going to show you a couple workflows. We're then going to push that into the power dialer of our choice. So Phone Burner has actually got a clay integration, a native one, which is really cool. But if I'm selling into the UK market or the EU market using US numbers, they don't actually enable you to have any UK number or EU number. It's going to look a little bit spammy in my opinion. So I had to go for a number of different power dialers to see which one worked. In the end, a sales dialer by JustCall does have a workflow for clay. You can map it out via webhook. However, I just found it easier to do it via CSV file. And then lastly, we're going to dial and smile. Now we actually have an intent signal that we found inside of clay.com to speak about while we're doing the cold calling, instead of just guessing what they might want to do, or instead of just pitching our features or our pains or whatever pains then we might assume they're going through. We're actually going to enrich real-time triggers or observations that are relevant to the key stakeholder, so we can actually resonate with them. So in a second, I'm going to show you a couple workflows. Okay, inside of clay.com now, one of the first ones I want to touch on is finding a job, right? So like I said at the start of this video, finding a job, or if there's job boards out there, this can signify that the particular company is now looking to expand their sales team. From an agency point of view or a go-to-market point of view, this could be a little signal to suggest that now they're looking to expand this and they want to start to build pipeline as well as hit some revenue goals. So let's use an example. So I'm going to look for SDRs in this example here. Let's just put it based in the United Kingdom, because obviously we're based in the United Kingdom as an example. Posting date, let's put it no more than the last 30 days as a max. We'll press continue. Now guys, this is just a high level view as well. This is not something that, not always the case, but yeah. So now we have a bunch of different companies with different job boards looking for an SDR or looking for an enterprise SDR manager. So this could be a great signal, right? It's for us to go to reach out to maybe the sales leader in that team, the CRO, or the head of sales, for example, of that team, to say, listen, I notice you're hiring for an SDR or a founding SDR. For me, that means you're looking to expand your sales team. We're Prospectology. We do XYZ for the third of the price of an SDR. Just kind of a high level view there, right? But the most important information we want to really do here, or find here, or consolidate, is literally the job description, when it was posted, and what actually is the job title. So if I was going to do an example, as you can see here on the screen, just to quickly speed this up, it would look something like this. So I've enriched the company further with their domain for obvious reasons. I've also listed the vertical. So again, I'm in the fintech world, or if you're targeting a particular sector, we can obviously use that to consolidate that. But one of the things that I wanted to point out is the custom note. So what I've done is I've added in a formula, which was hiring, when it was posted, and what the actual job board link was as well. So we can actually reference that when we do the cold call. Now, if we then do a further enrichment, it will look something like this. I found the sales leader in the team. I've pushed in the note, so the custom note for each individual team. I've got the sales director, for example. So what do I do next? Now, what we want to do is then push this into the power dialer of our choice. So in this case, I'm going to be using a sales dialer. So I've already kind of enriched this already, but I'm going to show you another example. In the sales dialer, I've got this cold calling example here, high level view, go to manage contacts. I've uploaded it via CSV file. If I was to click on Nick, and the basic custom information is here, you will then see that the lead source or the note has now been pushed inside of the power dialer of my choice. Again, this is very high level view, but I've enriched it inside of Clay. I found the key stakeholder that's relevant in terms of the hiring team. And then what I've done is I've actually added in a specific note. You can actually change this. You can call this custom note if you wanted to. I just did it for example purposes. And we can now see that the variable is they're hiring for an SDR. We also know when it was posted, and we can actually reference the link itself and actually copy and paste that to see what it is. So when I'm doing the cold call to this specific individual on the screen, I now have this information to hand, and I can actually reference this while I'm doing the cold call. Also, not to mention that we actually use different data sources inside of Clay. We use Prospectology.io, we use Better Contact to pulling different mobile numbers essentially and to verify at scale until we find the right one. So that's another added benefit of using Clay to enhance our cold calling. Now, in another example, if I was going to use a tech stack grab, for example, we found a bunch of e-commerce brands. We then enriched it using BuiltWith. Using BuiltWith, we then found a number of different payment options. So if I was wearing my fintech hat and I was selling open banking or a payment solution, I know for a fact that the likes of PayPal, Braintree and PayPal are the same anyways, or Afterpay, Klarna, or a Stripe, for example, and an Apple Pay is very, very costly. So if I reference this in the cold call to say, hey, I noticed you're using Stripe at checkout, we have a solution which is open banking, blah, 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 blah. We can actually save you £10,000 per month on processing fees. Just high level example here. So in that example here, what we can actually do, we can actually push this information into the power dialer of our choice. So in this example here, I'll just kind of walk you through it. So let's go to create a campaign. I've already uploaded this via CSV file here, as you can see. So I'll just quickly go next here. What I want to do next is then just download this. I'll upload this via CSV file, as you can see on the screen. I'm going to go next. Then what we're going to do, we're just, again, high level view. We're going to map this out. You can see the notes already on there. This is only going to work if you actually list the phone number as well. So if you go to alternative phone number, we go to find phone number. So we found that using Prospio in this example. We're going to go to next. We want to be cold calling from the United Kingdom because these companies are based in the UK. And then what we're going to do is select myself as the member. We're going to do finish setup. So just to kind of while that upload happens and that campaign gets created, I just want to assure you I've tested a few of these power dialers. I found that Sales Dialer by JustCall was very simple to just enrich the data inside of Clay and then upload it via CSV file. When I did it with the likes of Aircall and some other power dialers, it didn't map out how I wanted it to be. All I wanted to do, which was the main information, as you can see, new campaign. If I then go to manage contacts, as you can see on the screen, we have the mobile number. But then if I go to actually click on the number, you'll see notes, on basic information. It now tells me, so when we're doing the power dialing, it then tells me that this individual's, obviously I haven't enriched it properly, but high level view, we have their LinkedIn profile. We know if they're an FD, we know what their name is. And then the most important thing I wanted to show you for example purposes is the actual note itself. So now when we're doing our power dialing or cold calling, using the power dialer, we can actually see what is the note that we've enriched inside of Clay, using BuiltWith or whatever it is, whatever the variable is. We've now able to see this visually while we go ahead and do the cold calling. So I just wanted to show you that high level view of what this is and how we can actually use clay.com to enhance our cold calling. Like I said as well, we also use different data sources, pulling it in from the likes of Prospio.io and also Better Contact to find personal numbers. So be prepared for individuals to say, where did you get my personal number from? So I hope you enjoyed this workflow. My name's Michael. I'm the founder of Prospectology. We help fintech clients, B2B fintech clients, build the top of their funnel for the third of the price of an SDR. Guys, if you like this video and this workflow, smash the like button, subscribe. We're going to do a hell of a lot more videos for this in the coming weeks and months. If you enjoyed it, please do let me know. Leave a comment, drop a comment. If you didn't like it, also let me know. Thank you for watching, and I hope to do more of this. So I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.